confidence comes in practice. So the more you practice, the more you go into rooms, the more you actually do the thing you want to do, then you'll get confident. The reason why you feel like it's because you're just not doing it enough and you're not putting yourself enough in those places. And that's why you keep having those moments. But the more that you do it, the less you'll have them.
Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erica Cruz. Hello, friends. Welcome back to this week's episode of Chingona Revolution podcast. This week, we have a special guest named Bricia Lopez. I've come across her work through social media, but also at a few different conferences. And as I was thinking about who I wanted to invite, I was like, I can't believe I haven't invited her yet. But today, she is on the podcast and she shares what it's like to be an entrepreneur, a parent, Latina, how she's managed being driven, balancing all of these different things. Well, we never really have balance, right? But managing all of these different things. So Bricia Lopez is a powerhouse. She is a chef and entrepreneur and best-selling author who's all about honoring her roots while breaking barriers. She's one of the partners behind Guelaguetza, which is the iconic Oaxacan restaurant in Los Angeles that has earned major love, including the James Beard American Classic Award and praise from the late food critic Jonathan Gold, who called it the best Oaxacan restaurant in the United States. Bricia has written 2 beautiful cookbooks. Her first, Oaxaca, Home Cooking from the Heart of Mexico, which we talk about during the interview today. And that became an Amazon bestseller and was even nominated for a James Beard Award. Her second, Asada, dropped in 2023 and made it onto the New York Times list of best cookbooks of the year. Alongside her siblings, Bricia has also launched 2 national brands. I Live Micheladas. You may have seen those. I have tried them and they are amazing. Even if you have the mixes with non-alcoholic beer, they are just as good. Highly recommend. So that is a bottled cocktail mix and you just put it into your beer. Incredible, especially in the summertime. And Guelaguetza mole starters, which are pretty much, I've also experienced those and they are amazing. It helps you with creating mole because the dried chilies, it's already almost like this starter and you just mix in tomatoes, different things like that, rather than having to go source your own chilies, roast them, blend them, doing all that. So it allows you to really make these authentic Mexican dishes from home without a bunch of the labor that it typically requires. All right, so you may have seen her on NBC's Today Show, judging on Top Chef, or featured in places like Forbes, Food and Wine, The New Yorker, NPR, and more. She really is a true representation of cultura, corazón, and chingona energy. So, all right, let's get into this interview. Bricia, welcome to Chingona Revolution podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. What a name. Chingona Revolution. All right.
Yes. It's a bold name. So I came across your work at a We All Grow event. And I believe it was when you had just come out with your second book. Okay, actually, I first saw your work online through We All Grow because it was being shared for the Oaxaca book.
Love. Yes.
And then the Asada book came out, right? And then the I Live Michelada mix in Costco came out, and then I got it in a goodie bag. I don't even know what event I was at. And I remember I used it, and my mom, who doesn't drink, and I actually don't drink anymore, but I used it with a non-alcoholic beer, and my mom was like, "Está bien bueno, hazme uno," and I was like, it was a sample, and I was so sad. But now I'm just like getting into a whole rant. But can you? I mean, I've already talked a little bit about what you do, but can you introduce yourselves for the people who may not know who you are?
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Bricia Lopez. I am, what am I, Erica? I live in LA with my family. I have 2 kids. I have a beautiful, almost 5-year-old little girl who's just a magical unicorn. And I have my 10-year-old son. And I run I run a few businesses alongside my siblings. One of them is a restaurant. So we have a restaurant in Koreatown in LA. My restaurant's name is Guelaguetza. I own it alongside my siblings. We're business partners in everything that we do. And we pride ourselves in serving the best Oaxacan food in the country, which I still believe, and I hold me to my word. We try every day to bring the best food forward, and as far as our culture in terms of food here at the restaurant. Alongside the restaurant, we have our online store where we sell our mole starters, Oaxacan pantries. I have a couple of cookbooks. I love to create content. And one of the things that we also sell is our I Love Michelada mix. And I am also the co-founder of I Love Micheladas, which is a michelada. At this point, it's just like a michelada lifestyle company, girl, because it's not just about the mix. We have parties, we have chamoy, we have all sorts of things. It's a wonderful, company that has grown and is now really just really promoting anything to do with like Mexican American culture in LA and in like this country, really.
Beautiful. And we're going to get into all of the different events that you have coming up and into everything that you just talked about. But before we go there, I'm curious to know, where did this all begin? Because your family's been in the food industry for a while, right? So
Mm-hmm.
tell us a little bit about your younger life and how you came about to be this multiple business owner, entrepreneurial badass who is literally bringing Oaxacan culture. Like your cookbook was, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Tell us about the early childhood.
I was born in Oaxaca. I was born in Mitla, Oaxaca. Mitla is in the valley of Oaxaca. Mitla is the world that connects the underground world to the living world in the world of the Zapotec world. So I am, I guess, and the birthplace. I am from the place to where there is a direct connection to the underground world. They're called cloud people. So um, that's where I was born, and that's where we have our beginnings of our family. That's where my mom is born as well. We moved to LA in the mid '90s. I was 10 years old, and I grew up in LA. In the mid '90s, at around that time, my dad opened a restaurant called Galaguetza that I was talking about earlier. He was a street food vendor. Lived in LA for about 6 months, then brought us. And when I say quote unquote us, I mean my siblings and I and my mom. We started our life here, and then the life begins in this wonderful country. And 30 years later, we're still running the restaurant with my siblings, with my sister, my brother, and launch other businesses, like the Michelada business and other things that keeps us very very busy.
Yeah, and it sounds like food was an integral part of your upbringing. I mean, just in general being Mexican, but especially when I think of Oaxaca and when I think of southern Mexico. But it sounds like in your family, the food has been a primary role in connecting your entire family. So my question is, when your dad opened the restaurant, did you know that you wanted to continue on with the restaurant, or did you have dreams of doing something else? Like, has your goal always been to stay in the food industry?
That's a very interesting question. So I well, I grew up in the restaurant industry. I'm a immigrant kid. I think if you speak to any child of an immigrant family that owns a restaurant, I don't think there's very few people that will be like, I loved it. I loved going to the restaurant every after school, and it was great to clean the tables and be in the kitchen. And I have met a couple of people that did that was just their passion, and they just loved being in the restaurant since they were children. I loved being in the restaurant because I loved the buzzing of the restaurant. I loved working at the restaurant. I loved creating community here. I had my friends here. We used to have folklorico dancing every weekend. I was in the folklorico group. I had so many friends. It was a beautiful experience. But I, as a 17-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl, it was very difficult for me to like having to come to work after school. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It makes so much sense. And this is why I'm asking, because a lot of people that I find it fascinating that you and your siblings have not just taken over the restaurant, but also helped the restaurant grow. And a lot of family businesses that I know in my personal life, the children don't really want to continue on. So that's where my question stemmed from. But that makes sense. You wanted a life outside of the restaurant, right? But what, like, I guess, when did that change for you? When did you decide, okay, I'm ready to take over?
I, I think like anything in life, you just make decisions on where you want to go in life. You know, I think that I would have been very successful had I done anything else. Not that I'm tooting my own horn, but I think like anyone that really wants to set out to do something, I think eventually, Erica, you want to do a podcast, you're doing the podcast, right? I don't know if I don't think your parents were podcasters, right? You just wanted to do it,
Definitely
right?
not.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's
Yep.
parents were podcasters right now in this generation. But I think what I was taught, it was more of the value of work and a little bit more of consistency. I was taught. I'm still learning patience, but I think working at the restaurant just taught me what work looked like. But I think for a long time I didn't think I didn't want to be here because I saw it as a job. I didn't see it as a career, and I think that's when it shifted for me when I realized that
Mm,
being part of the family business didn't mean that I was going to be a server for the rest of my life, or being
right.
part of the rest of being the business wasn't that I was going to be a cook forever. I wasn't going to be a line cook for the rest of my
Right.
life. That wasn't being a being part of this business wasn't me having the keys to open the restaurant and close every day or mopping the floors, which I thought it was, right? That's what I had registered that as work because I saw my parents do that. And I think as immigrant children, that's what we grew up seeing. We grew up seeing our parents just really actually do physical labor, right? So when we grow up, we think that if we don't do that labor, then we're not working. So I was always thought, I don't want this life. I don't want to have to work this hard. Right. I don't want to have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and not have to, just like I don't want this.
Yeah.
But then I realized later on that I didn't have to do that in order to have what I wanted and still create the restaurant. I really realized that you could create really however you want. You could having being a business owner is very hard. Don't get me wrong, and you can speak to and especially being a small business owner
Hmm.
small and I think a lot of people also have a misconception of what a small business owner is. I think a lot of people don't know and might even say, oh my god, this girl's talking about multiple businesses and she's not a small business owner. I know Adela, who is a small business owner across the street from me, right? But I think people don't understand what actually small business means. And running a small business is very, very challenging, but there's many ways of running it. There's many ways of skinning the cat. And I
Hmm.
think I realized at some point in my life that I needed to run the business and make this on my career, not just be a job. Also, at the time, my parents were retiring. They had closed down all their business, downsized. My dad was losing a lot of money. The restaurant industry is hard. Business is hard. If you don't know your numbers, if
Yeah.
you're not actively looking, one day you're in business and like it could go really fast. He lost everything in a matter of like 8 months. Just, you start losing $100,000 a month without realizing until 5 months later, you're like half a million down the hole. It happens really, really fast in restaurants.
Yeah.
Like in food businesses, it happens really, really fast. People burn through a lot of money. A lot of restaurants stay open longer than they should. it's
Hmm.
it's a very cash heavy business.
Right.
um but I think I don't know if to answer your question, but I think to answer your question was I think for me it shifted when I realized it was a career and it wasn't like an everyday job. My parents retired, and since they were losing everything, they were just going to close this down because they don't know, right? They don't know about retirement. So
Right.
then we decided to continue on and then say, why don't we just give this a try? What's the worst that can happen? So we just my siblings, when I say we, my sister, my brother, and I just got together and we're like, let's work and let's have fun. And we just started having the best time. My parents moved and we just took over and we were just playing business owners and we're still pretending to be sometimes, I feel.
I love your response. And you said something that was so key. We, as either immigrants or first gen, look at our parents and see the hard work, the very labor intensive, the sacrifice
I think
that's
it's that
made.
word sacrifice.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And, my parents are both entrepreneurs as well, but my mom cleans houses and my dad does landscaping. And, they're the owners of the business, so they're not just working in it, but they also work in it. So, I mean, to this day, my mom, I see my mom come home and she's, all sweaty, and like she's in her 60s, like she's ready to retire, and it's such a labor intensive job that when I decided that I was going to leave, I was working in the tech industry before running a coaching business. But when I decided I was going to leave, even my mom was like, no, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Like, just go work for somebody else. And I think what you're getting at is that the type of entrepreneurship that your parents experienced isn't the same that you had to experience. And the moment you realize you could do it your way, which you have done it your way, but that's when everything shifted, because you've really been able to take this from like this family run spot to a nationally recognized brand. Did you, whenever you decided to take over with your siblings, you were just playing, you just mentioned, but I mean, how did these things end up happening? How did you end up expanding the restaurant? And then how did that lead to I Love Micheladas? Was it through the play? Is that how it happened?
It happens in every day. It's the journey. It's really it's been I've been at this for a very long time, over a decade, right? It's not just one day that just happens. It's one year building upon the other year, building upon the other year, and then the other year coming in and wiping everything you just did and you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
It is just, I think it's just understanding that it's you just have to, I call it play because that's just what I come and do every day, right? I that is the only way that I could really do what I do, because what we do is really difficult. Not difficult. What we do requires a lot of consistency. And it's very difficult for anyone to be consistent.
Right.
So working at consistency is the game. So we get to be creative within this space, and I think that's where I have the most fun. And we're fun, and I have the most incredible team. And sometimes I forget them. Not actually, never forget, but I always remind myself that the most important thing is not yes, it's our decisions as business leaders, but it's the people that you're leading, and just like
Mm-hmm.
really having those people around you. So I call it play, but believe me, I also I am a very stern coach. I demand a lot out of my team, but I think we all have a lot of fun in doing what we love, and that's making food and creating experiences. And the challenges come, but ultimately, if you all kind of have the same goal, things will just start happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Like, you have to set a clear vision and the intention and where you're going, and share it with everybody to ensure
Yeah,
that you're all moving towards the same direction. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of the people who listen to this podcast, most of them are women, most of them are Latinas, and they aspire
my
to one
girls.
day one day aspire to become an entrepreneur or launch a business. But a big struggle is, do I have what it takes? Is now the right time? So I'm wondering, did you ever feel like you didn't belong in certain rooms? Because the food industry is pretty male dominated. That's changing. I think women like you are changing that. But how did you work through that, if you ever felt like maybe out of place, or was there ever a moment of doubt that you had, and how did you work through it?
Moment of doubt. I get the question you're asking, and I want to give like the most honest answer, because I think that as immigrant Latinas, the doubting. I don't think, if someone stop doubting themselves, let me know who your therapist is. I want to hire her or him. Right? I don't
Yes.
know. I'm working through therapy. I take it. I have a great therapist who just kind of helps through all of that, and learning to be kind to myself. Right? I'm learning through that.
Hmm.
I think the challenge is working at yourself every day, because ultimately, whatever story that you tell yourself, it's all your story. So, sure, am I the only woman in the room? Yes. But it's like the energy that I put on that really makes a difference. I don't really look at it that way. When I go in, I channel my inner, and I'm like, I'm as great as everyone here. And like, that's just how I'm going to show up. That takes work though. So like, that's the actual work of like actually having to every single day do the affirmations and believing it. You know where actually confidence comes from? confidence comes in practice. So the more you
Right.
practice, the more you go into rooms, the more you actually do the thing you want to do, then you'll get confident. The reason why you feel like you're is because you're just not doing it enough and you're not putting yourself enough in those places, and that's why you keep having those moments. But the more that you do it, the less you'll have them.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have a like self-care practice or a morning routine? You mentioned affirmations. Is there anything else that you do? Obviously, you mentioned
Erica,
therapy
I
as
do it
well.
all, girl. I do it. Name it. I do it. Yes. Yes. I listen to Oprah, I listen to Tony Robbins, I go to therapy, I listen to all the great podcasts. I try to consume. I'm very strong in my faith.
Mhm.
I read the Bible, I go to church, I have a pastor, I have a friend who, I listen to all I like to surround myself with things that make me grow, because otherwise where is the alternative?
Yeah.
Time is so precious. And I think for sometimes we get so caught up in our minds. Really, we get
Mhm.
caught up in stories we tell ourselves. And yes, the world is very unfair. I believe it is. I see it every day. I see unfairness everywhere I go. And yes, it is difficult being a woman in today's world, no matter what industry you're in.
Right.
We're at disadvantage in so many things from birth, even from going to the I always tell people, is even from going to the bathroom, having a boy, a daughter, and a son. They're even just have like, I'm like, we're at a loss from the moment we're born. Like, we have to go find a bathroom, take our pants down, squat, like, there's so much more time that
Yeah.
is asked of us as women.
Mhm.
There's so much more time that men don't have to give up, so we have to work twice as hard. Even just by going to the bathroom, we're already losing years. They're already ahead because they just zip up, down, they go, let's go. And we have to, there's a lot as women. At the
Yeah.
same time, we have to know that and take ownership and responsibility, that if then that's the reality, then let's make the decisions that we need to make for ourselves so we can heal ourselves and then show up for the world the way that we need to do. So yes, it's hard, but it's up to me to do the work so I don't let it affect me. So then when I show up as my best self, and I like kill it and not let those doubts overcome me.
Yeah. I think you're bringing up a really good point where sometimes people have this misconception that affirmations once a week is enough. But what you're saying is, you're saying a few things. You're saying you consistently need to show up for yourself.
Of
Yes,
course.
there are disadvantages, but the story you tell yourself is told by you, so you can always tell yourself a different story. You could sit here and
Absolutely.
like be like, "Oh yeah, I'm at a disadvantage," or you could say, "Yep, it's true, I'm at a disadvantage and here's what I'm going to do about it."
Of course.
Which
Then
is
that's
it
that's
sounds
your
like exactly what
decision,
you've
and that
done.
is your free will, and you
Right.
have that choice, and no one can make that choice for you, only you. And
Right.
that's the hard part, taking responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit to your cookbook, to Oaxaca. You are the first author from Oaxaca to write about Oaxaca.
Hmm.
That's insane to me. That is wild. So when we think about, I think a cookbook is such a beautiful documentation of your family and your gatherings, and now you've been able to share it with the world. But I think about, if my mom was to pass away and I have none of her recipes documented, I can't recreate them. So this book is a gift to the world, but it's also a gift for you and for the future generations. So can you tell us a little bit about the experience of writing Oaxaca? And then if you want to talk about Asada as well, like what was that book writing experience and what intention did you go into it with? Was it the intention of, okay, I really have to capture the essence of these family recipes, and anything you want to share about the book writing process?
Man, so when I wrote Oaxaca, I moved to Oaxaca. I moved into my mom's house for a month. Me and my son. He was 2 or 3 years old at the time when I was writing the book. Um, I'm there for a month. I hired a writer to help with the book. His name is Javier Cabral. Wonderful writer, great writer. He is also the editor of LA Taco, so he's like a little brother to me. We've known each other for over 20 years. So I hired him. He moved to Oaxaca for a week. And during that time, I just cooked every single day with my mom. And when I tell you I cook with my mom, I mean, we would get up in the mornings, we'd get our nixtamal that we had just set the night before, we'd rinse it, we'd walk together to the molino, we'd grind our corn, we'd come back, and then we'd start cooking. And we'd look at the list. I'm like, okay, today we're making mole verde, we're making chile rellenos, we're making molotes, and we're making this. Perfect. Here is, I'm like, okay, mom, what do you need? Okay, we'll go shopping for the things. She'd come back and she'd just cook. She'd literally cook, and I would be there measuring everything, talking to her, tasting it, making notes. And the days that the writer was there, it was having a writer was probably one of the most wonderful experiences I had, because I'm a writer. I write. I've written many articles. I love writing. I've journaled forever. Um, but having someone that you can just sort of speak to and they're able to transfer your words onto paper, almost having like almost like someone who can just really, he knows my voice so well. So it was so wonderful to see, and just for him to see everything, notes, like takes and take notes, and to get the essence of the kitchen. And then just having that experience with my son, with my mom, for us and for the family. And I was so thankful that my siblings trusting me with this project, was because for us was more a preservation of our culture. That's what we've always wanted to do here at Galagetza. Galagetza really is, how do we how do we not lose this? I mean, how do we create, I mean, we've been here for 30 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means that there's a 30-year-old out there who who's from Oaxaca, who probably has never been to Oaxaca, but knows every single flavor of Oaxacan food, the same as if she or him would have been born there, right? So I think that is at the essence of like what we want to do and what I want to
Yeah.
preserve, and just really like the beauty of our culture, specifically food, is so important of who we are as people and this country, and the respect that we deserve is just so much more important than anything. So for us, it was just about talking about the story and thinking about my son, and how in another 30 years, 40 years, he will be making this food for hopefully his future generation or someone else, right? And I found that just so powerful and so beautiful. And I thought it was like, it was just such a privilege. It was a beautiful experience. Then we came back to LA, and I took all the recipes that were written and I just tested them all over again. So I just remade them here at my house,
Mm-hmm.
and made all the notes, and then had a photographer. We got all the pictures. Writing a cookbook is a labor of love. Writing a cookbook is not. If you're in the business of cookbooks, don't get in that business of cookbooks. It's not like a money maker, but it's just it's a project. It's like a beautiful scrapbook that you're making for your family in the most gorgeous way possible. So I took it as that. And I love what you said about your mom and the ingredients that you in the recipes that you want to preserve. And I always tell people, please, I know that I wrote a book and I am very blessed. And yes, go on and please dream. If you want to write a cookbook, if that's your dream, you can do it. Yes, you can. There is a pathway to doing it. You just have to go, you just have to cook every single day and create content every single day. Yes, you can make a cookbook. But you can also do it just on your own. Don't let that stop you from just actually doing it. There's so many projects that die every single day from people that are waiting for something to happen in order for them to do what they want to do. And guess
Oh,
what? It's never going
yes.
to happen. It may never happen. And you need to just go and make decisions and go do it. So if you want to do a cookbook, if you want to get your mom's recipes, it's very easy. Just write them. Today is we are living, and yes, in the most awful times in human history, but we are also living in the most exciting era ever in the history of human beings. And you can fucking be anything you want to be. God, like, you can be anything, you can create anything. There's things that are going to exist to next week. Okay, there's careers that are going to be created tomorrow that we probably would have never even thought about. Like, our minds are haven't even fathomed, they haven't even unlocked. We've just unlocked an entire universe of possibilities. So sometimes I'm like, just do it. I stop listening to this podcast and just go fucking do the thing.
That was so good. The waiting for something to happen outside of them and like it really just takes a decision. Oh man, that was so good. I want to just point out how because you talked about how whenever you went back to Oaxaca, your mom was there. Is that where your mom lives
My
in
mom lives in
Oaxaca?
Oaxaca, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so when they retired, they moved back
Yes,
to.
they moved to Oaxaca.
Okay, that makes sense. But how symbolic for you to be there with your son, who is the next
Mhm.
generation. And I've seen
Mhm.
him on your Instagram, so he loves
Yeah.
being in the kitchen with you, which is so beautiful. And it was almost like your why was right there, right? You're like, oh, this is why it's so important because when he's my age, he can open up this project and recreate all of these same flavors.
You know what blows my mind? So this is new to, I mean, obviously my books are 5 years old and my son is 10. But the other day I was like, wait a minute, like you can read, you can actually make a book report on your family. Like you can read this cookbook. Even the first 15 pages is just your family's story. Like now you're 10. Like you should read this. Wait, this should be a mandatory read for everyone from the family as soon as they read because this is the family story. You
Yeah.
don't have like this is better than having the family tree. This is like your actual thing on and it just I think it just sort of dawned on me at that moment. I'm like, oh my God, how's like wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So speaking about your son and you have two kids, how do you
Mhm.
balance being such an ambitious Latina running multiple businesses, but also being a mom? And how do you manage the ambition with the rest and the motherhood?
Well, I don't think anyone should manage their ambition. Number one, I think if you have ambition, you should have ambition. So I don't think that's something you should manage. Um, but if you're saying how do I allocate my time, well, that's very difficult. I think that when you're a mother, and for all my moms out there, the guilt will never stop. You're always going to feel like a horrible mother no matter what, no matter what. And your kids will always keep you very grounded. You could do something incredible for them and they'll be great. And then 2 minutes later, they'll yelling at you and then they'll be kissing you again. And you'll be like, okay, I love you, you know? So I think being a mom, you're in this new world of where you are so you have this immense love in this world of just eternal forever just the most beautiful love that you have for your children, but at the same time you have the other side of the coin as well, which is like this sucks so bad. And if I say it, I'm a horrible person. If I say I don't like my kids, I'm bad. I'm a bad mom. A bad mom. I think every mom goes through that, right? Um, that being said, I think that when you are of a female form, if you are a woman who likes to have things and who likes to, who yes, has ambition, there are certain things that life things that you need to, you know, have or not have. Um, I love my kids and I enjoy my kids when I'm with them. And I, what I do and I make it, I am very intentional of this is that when I'm with my kids, I am with my kids and there, I stop. There's no work at that time. That's it. I actually have a time off and you know what? I fall asleep with them. Sometimes I go to sleep at 8:30, 9 p.m. when I put them down and that's it. My day is done. And like that's it. Um and sometimes I able to sleep, like they fall asleep and I'm like, great. It's like after school activities. I'm like, great, I have like 3 hours. I'm gonna squeeze in whatever I can right now until 1 o'clock in the morning because I gotta go all over again tomorrow. And I like to be there present for them. I'm not with them all the time. I'm not with them 24/7. Um and it's very difficult when I travel for work. I do a lot of travel when I'm not with them. There are days, there's 5 day stretches that I don't see them. I don't see my children for 5 days in a row. And it's very hard. It's, I think in day five, you know, I think moms that are probably listening to is like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine not seeing my kids for 5 days. And then some moms are like, hell yeah, 5 days without children. That sounds awesome. Right. So, you know, it's for me it's very difficult. It's very very hard. There's lots of tears because I want to see my kids, but at the end of the day I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. And I think that we get asked this question because we're women, Listen, I went to dinner with this guy who wanted my business. Um, and he was like, "So who's watching your kids right now?" And I was like, "Huh, what an interesting question." I was like, "Who's watching your kids?" And he was like, "Oh, I mean, they're with my wife." I'm like, "Cool. My kids are with their dad." Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
like, who's watching my kids? I mean, maybe the babysitter, but I know their dad is parent. I don't know. Someone watching. I hope someone's parenting your child right now. I mean, or maybe they're with their sitter and the sitter is watching them. I don't know. But that's like, again, because we're females and we sort of in this position where, I guess, in a very male energy, you know, there's questions that are asked, but I think that it's just, again, our own our own notions that we should be for the world. Really, the world thinks that moms should be a certain way, but there's many people in the world. There's many views, and the only view that really matters is your view and your children's view.
Right. Yeah. And based on what I've seen with your content, it sounds like your
Well,
children's view or
content is
what you
content. Also, don't also like
true.
content is content. So you know, I think when someone looks at my content, they can think one thing, but like it's very different when you see me, you know me, you live my life. Content is different. That's a whole other world too.
Yeah. So then let me ask you the question in this way. Do you think that you being ambitious and sticking with the things that you want to do is actually really positive for your kids to see?
I think it's very positive that my kids have a healthy relationship with their mom where they feel safe of having a conversation. No matter what it is, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm a stay at home mom, if I'm like going at work every day, it doesn't matter. I think what matters is that my kids feel safe talking to me and having a relationship with me, right? Like,
Yeah, that's
sure,
beautiful.
is it good that they see me working? Yes. Would it be good if they saw me every day playing with them, like teaching them, five languages and taking them to all the activities? Absolutely. So there's a yes to both sides. I think, you know, I think like when you talk about like moms and things, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. It's so different for everyone. And sometimes I don't want a mom to think like, no, yeah, she's doing so much and I'm just here. And it's like, no, because you're not just there. You're like being there for your child. This is when I mean, I go through that all the time where I'm like, man, like it's so like this. Yes, I would love to be there for my kid. And I am when I can. I mean, when I am, not when I can, but I am when I am.
Hmm.
But I choose to allocate some other time of my life differently into creating something else for them. And that's where I feel like that's what I feel my children. They're my children, right? They're gonna grow up the way that I raised them, or my
Hmm. Hmm.
their dad and I raised them. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. And I think you're bringing up a really good point because I'm not a mom myself, but I asked this question because a lot of my clients are moms. And I've had clients who have had a situation where they become a mom and they're like, I actually don't really want to work right now. I want to be with my kid. And I think what you're
Yes,
saying is like, that's okay. But I think what happens for my clients is because they were so ambitious, they feel shame. They feel like they're not doing the right thing. And then I have clients who are on the opposite end where they do have ambition, but they feel shame of not being the one that's taking care of their kids all the time. But I think your point is it doesn't matter what it is. What matters is it in alignment and authentic to you and your
yes,
relationship with your kids? Like, is it serving what you and your kids need?
yes, because ultimately you're creating the life for your family. This is you're
Mm-hmm.
creating your reality every single day with your children. You
Yeah.
know, this is and absolutely children should be a priority. That is, yes, I think number one, your children should be your priority. But that that translates so many difference to different people, right? When you say priority, some people are like, then I'm going to make a priority. That means that they come first and I can do anything because it's my kids. For me, it's like my priority is my children's well-being, that I can create a world for them that gives them opportunity and sets them up for the future. Number one, right? Like that I especially because I'm come from an immigrant family, I want my kids to grow up to learn self-love, to learn self-respect, to grow with a self authenticity, ownership, responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the first foundations. And then it's my responsibility as a mom to just guide them through the world. And for me is, well, if they see me do what I love, hopefully that translates into that. And doing through what I love, I can bring them into, have them experiences with me and make them part of my life and my world. My son and I are traveling next week. It's just the two of us. We're taking 9 days off, him and I alone, right? So creating these experiences for them that are going to last, creating these moments with them throughout the year. We're taking 2 weeks off in the summer, just the three of us. So like, I think that people underestimate like the value of being present sometimes and quality time and just like being present. That's something that I am also struggling with and also that I'm always learning. I'm not, I have to make sure that I do take time and I am present, and I am a person that just also runs a lot, like runs back and forth, and I'm always trying to do everything, and I'm like trying to be an overachiever and do a million things, as you can see. um but then within that I realize my flaw is there's so many things that get lost in the cracks, that unless I'm learned to be present, and that means letting go of more things, um, then when I'm in the present is really when I can enjoy my children, when I can be a great mom, when I can be the best me, but I can also be the best boss and the best sister and the best partner, because then you're actually present with the people. And sometimes, but even if you're not busy, like if you're just not in a good headspace, even if you're there physically, you can probably like, you're maybe mentally you're not there, right? And then you have to check in with yourself and be like, maybe I actually don't want to be here. Maybe I should, do something else. And maybe I will put my kid in daycare for now to take care of myself. And that's making him a priority, because if I am okay, then he's going to be okay. So I think it's just being self-aware. I think we went to different in a different direction, but I'm like, oh my God, maybe I'm over answering these.
No, I think somebody out there needed to hear everything that you just said. Yeah. And one of the questions I had for you is what are you currently working on? But you already mentioned, you said you were working on being present and patience, right?
Yes, yes.
Great. So,
Being a better listener.
that's a good one. Yeah. So a lot of the listeners are in California and a lot of them are in the LA area. So can you tell us what are some of the things that you have going on that people who are local should know about?
Oh, come to the restaurant, please, in Koreatown, Guelaguetza. We're in Olympic and Normandy in Cape Town. Please come visit the restaurant. Please come and say hi. Um, and oh my gosh, my brother and I throw the biggest party in Los Angeles once a month, every first Friday of the month. Please come to our I Love Micheladas is first Fridays. It is the biggest celebration of Mexican American culture in LA, and it's so fun. It's 3,500 people, two stages, live bands, five DJs, and lots of micheladas. It's so fun. So come every first Friday of the month. You can find out about all of those things on Instagram. You can follow me, Bricia Lopez, or I Love Micheladas, like Alegatza, all the places.
I have to ensure that my next trip to LA is on a first Friday because I have to come to one of
You
these.
have to come. Yes.
Yes. So for the people who maybe aren't local, but they still want to stay connected, you have a newsletter. So can you tell us about that?
Yes, I have a newsletter. It's called From Oaxaca. It's on Substack, where I share five. My partner and I share 5 recipes a month, just rooted in our love for Oaxaca and seasonalities. He lives in New York. I live in LA, and it's just us sharing wonderful recipes for people.
Beautiful. So you already mentioned your website. Did you mention how else can people connect with you? So there's the newsletter, there's the in-person stuff. Anything else we should know?
Instagram, Bricia
Instagram.
Lopez. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, well, we will link all of that down below. Congratulations on your impact when it comes to food and just really bringing Mexican culture, specifically Oaxacan food, to the States. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for being such a leading voice for Latinas, for being
No,
such a powerhouse. And
thank
also
you. Thank
now,
you for
after
saying
having
that.
this interview, being so intentional with the way that you parent as well. So I think we covered a lot of great things in this interview. Is there anything
Oh,
that I
thank
didn't
you.
ask that you might want to share?
I don't know. No, I want to say thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. If you're still listening, I hope that and something that I say resonates with you, and just take action. I think more than anything, I think it really is, and just make a decision.
Yes. There's so much power in just making a decision,
Make a
right? Yeah,
decision.
so much power in that. Beautiful. Bricia, thank you so much for your time. We know you're busy. I appreciate you so much. So, for those of you listening, if you took anything away from this podcast episode, take a screenshot, make sure that you tag us both so that we can see
Yes.
what stood out to
Please
you.
tag me.
Yes. Fantastic. Okay, well, I will see you at one of the First Friday events. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
yes, girl. Don't forget your botas.
Oh, I will not. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theericacruz.com. That's Erica with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erica Cruz. That's Erica with a K, because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.